Building Blocks 2025 in Tel Aviv. The future of tech.
We're going to talk about building in the trenches, and I want to welcome the best founder. The first one, Shachaf from Cody. Come here. Big round of applause to Yarden Scherter, Raj Friedman, and Jeremy, the founder of Mutable Capital. Please take a seat.
It's on. Small mistake. I'm from Authentic, not Fortify, but all good.
Yeah. Authentic is much better than Fortify, right?
I'm the founder of Fireblocks.
Okay, good, great. So, guys, we're going to talk about building in the trenches, and I told them before we came on stage that we have to talk about all the shit that's going on behind the scene, the stuff that don't work. Crypto founder, are building in a space where the market are volatile. I always say that it's kind of, there's one day where you're up and down, and in Web3 it's even harder with, during the bear market, okay? So one thing that I want to know, and before we do that, maybe we'll do 10 seconds, okay, of introduction. Mostly Fireblocks, right? So talk 10 seconds, and then we can start.
Cody is an encrypted blockchain. So essentially, it's a privacy network using an innovative technology called garbled circuits. Essentially, we're the fastest and lightest privacy chain out there.
Yarden Scherter, co-founder and CEO of Authentic and not Fortify. What we are building is development framework for distributed systems, so-called AVSs, networks, BVSs. The idea that we've built all of the low-level primitive to spin up a distributed system.
My name is Raz. I'm a game maker, creating games. Previously, I was CPO of Playtika, a mobile games company, and 3 years ago decided to create a new game studio involved with future blockchain and cryptocurrencies and NFTs involved.
I'm Jeremy. I've been in crypto for like 13 years. I co-founded a couple of Web2 startups, sold one of them, and after that was CEO of core business at Balancer, and then most recently COO at Snapshot, and now I'm noodling on interesting new things, and also making investments through my fund, Immutable Capital.
All right, so if someone wants money, they come to you, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of money. Come to me.
Great. All right, so there's one thing that I always ask founders, and I ask myself that every day. Knowing what you know today, what is a single piece of advice you would give yourself, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? I mean, I know that I would tell myself, don't do it, Adam. Don't do it. Just go and work at a startup, and you have an amazing life. Anyone want to take that?
I would say be agile, meaning you need to fail fast. You need to maneuver, you need to navigate through ideas, you need to make fast ideation and fail fast if the market is not reacting to your solution. So fail fast and be agile, that would be my 2 shekels. Yeah.
2 shekels. I think be brutally honest with yourself and with your co-founders and with your investors. I think that, especially when you're a CEO, it's very easy to believe your own illusion and to kind of lose touch with the difficult, uncomfortable realities about the things that are not working well, and convince yourself that they're going to work if you just keep, grinding hard and keep doing it, which is, you don't want to get stuck there. And you also feel pressure to always show your investors how great things are going, because you want them to be impressed with the work that you're doing. You want them to feel good about investing in you, but you really, as soon as they invest in your company, you have to understand that now they're your partners, and you have to be very transparent with them. And the best way you can spend your time when you talk to them is talking about what's not going well and what you need help with, and what you're concerned about, because then they can really help with that. And you don't want to shock them when something goes badly, because after you've been telling them that everything was perfect.
You definitely want to prep them, right? Press, you want to say something, or you were?
Yeah, I think that coming from one industry of mobile games to a bit new and fast-paced industry, like you said, that I'm realizing that sometimes when you wanna, if you compare it to cooking, there's a certain things that you can do when you wanna cook fast, and some things are need slow cooking. So just take into consideration what you can bring with the fast cooking and plan for also having the slow cooking and kind of creating the stuff that you wanna be ready with more depth and more with better results.
It takes some time to figure out that 99% of things are bullshit and doesn't really move the needle. And when you realize that, you really need to know how to focus on the important things. Timing is almost everything. Just timing, being with the right thing at the right time, the right market. The rest, if you don't do that, then everything is difficult. So that's one thing. The other thing that matters is hiring. And Raz actually told me that a few years ago. I don't even know if he remembers that, but he said, yeah, good idea is just the basic thing, then it's just an HR problem. If you have a good idea, it's just an HR problem, essentially hiring the right people. So.
Yeah. Okay. So slow cooking, hiring, and brutally honest with your investor.
And yourself and your co-founders.
And to yourself and to your co-founder, and also to your significant other as well, right? One question that I have, and you said right now that you need to move fast, you need to shift fast, and all of you guys came from Web 2, right? I mean, you're old enough to have been in Web 2, and even some of you guys have been in Web 1, right?
Dude, we've been in an era where there was no web.
Web zero, right? We've been building internet companies, investing in a TCP/IP company, right? How do you move fast, break things, which is the thing that we see in Web 2 in an environment in Web 3 when when you ship a product, it has to be perfect because there's a lot of problem. If especially if you're on chain, you don't want to deploy smart contract. You don't want to do anything that will probably leave people without money or whatever. How do you do that? How do you move fast in that environment? Anyone want to take that?
The whole Jeff Bezos type 1, type 2 thing, decisions, right? Some decisions are very important, irreversible. You need to really not move fast and don't break stuff when you make them. And some things are so reversible that you really need to move fast because it doesn't matter. Just try this, doesn't work, try that till it works. So I think that's the key is to understand which decision you're facing. The other thing is just optimization, and Raz has been doing that for many, many years, optimizing, crunching again and again.
I would say a boot on the ground, always be ahead of the market. When you in ongoing communication with the market, with customers, you can clearly understand how you can basically fine-tune your product roadmap according to market demand, according to requirement. And this is the best way, basically, to navigate in our complex ecosystem, in a fast-paced environment that we are working in. And when you have this click, when basically customers react to your solution, so you can have a better understanding that what you're doing is valuable for a specific market segment, to a specific customer profile. So boot on the ground, be 3 steps ahead of the curve.
I think that maybe it's also related to what you're saying, that in compared to the previous market that I was working in, the factor of community now is a different type of factor when it comes to crypto. The ability to have a vision and to get feedback from community, talking about the vision, supporting your vision. If you have things like, it's looks like a little bit like almost crowdfunding in a way to your vision. These are new territories and new stuff that you can utilize and were not available in previous markets, Web 2, Web 1, and stuff like that. And on the contrary, it has also a lot of obligations and liabilities and difficulties, because while you go, if your vision needs to shift and if you did mistakes, then you need to kind of communicate everything, and the public factor that you took is have it like changes sometimes everything. But I think it's also what's exciting in our market and a little bit different. This is why I'm kind of also very excited of trying and hack the stuff that relates to games and how crypto tokens, NFTs will be involved. Because for me, I cannot see a way that tokens and crypto will not be part of games in the next 20, 30 years. It's only a matter of the first company and the first project that will utilize it right and will introduce the real value of it to the market. And it's nice to explore and be first and try new paradigms, and probably we're gonna fail, but I hope that we're gonna also succeed soon.
Somewhat related, I think in blockchain, it's very important to validate ideas as much as possible before you build something. Before you take that step to make the investment, to dedicate your resources to build, audit, ship, you want to design a strategy where you can be very confident that the market is validating what you're thinking, whether that's by talking to partners or somehow getting community feedback or user feedback. Or it's not really, I mean, especially if you're like working on something complex, which, like, for example, at Balancer, everything we're doing was very, very complex. And you don't want to be like, down the road, like a long development project, and then find out that like it's not really gonna.
Can I interrupt you for a second
Please.
and ask you for like a very specific, case where you fucked it up in one of your company? Like you did the absolute, you launched something, you thought that you had product market fit or community market fit. Anyone?
It's always when you lose, you win some, you lose some. So even when I will talk about the fuck up, maybe it will be, retrospective. But, for example, I see now games that utilize the upcoming airdrop or upcoming token that they don't have. And for example, we didn't do that. We had a token before we had a game. So it's really changed dynamics of the way that things behave. So in the future, it will be really interesting to see what will be exactly the timing and the way to build stuff and how to launch them. Again, for us, we were enabled our company using our assets and using our community. So maybe we owe them and still owe them part of what we're doing. But still, every new project introducing different way of doing stuff and showing you advantages of a new methodology and sometimes showing you the disadvantage of what you did. And you're already out there.
So you're experimenting a lot.
Yeah.
And you view your community when you launch your token, no matter what you do down the road, you basically view your community as your investor, and you basically owe them, those new features, those new whatever you do, right? So basically.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool.
I think that, any founder with a token out there is basically, and including myself, of course, fucks it up every day and is hyped the next day, because that's the reality of it. Like, I think what we call community is in many ways a group of token holders. And that's, in most cases, like the common denominator, nothing else. So community is a very broad word, and I think people use it, but sometimes don't really understand what it means. So in that sense, I think you're glorified and then bashed the next day, et cetera, according to market volatility, token price, et cetera. And I think it's important to never believe your own hype and never take it personally when it's gone.
So if I think let me let you go, and then because I want to change the subject slightly.
Yeah, completely agree with Raz. Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. I wanted to say, don't write a single line of code before you validate your idea, but maybe I'll take it back to our personal story. We were so drowned in building our product for 6 months, and throughout this journey, we identified a huge problem, basically a bigger fish to fry that we should pursue. And this is how we got to build what we are building today, actually in building a product, building a technology, and that way identify the complexities for other builders to build the same technology. So we decided, okay, let's make it available for everyone. And this is how we basically came to build a framework to build those systems. So by diving into I would say like the problem space, you can identify the bits and bytes in the actual problem. So completely agree. I cannot say anything about like a community. We are completely a B2B business. But of course, community is one of the driving forces in crypto. For us, it's a developer community and not necessarily a user-oriented community. But completely agree with both of you.
So also to touch on a point that Shachaf made, which is that community is essentially a group of token holders. I think one of the most interesting, challenging building in the trenches moments that I've had, is like when you are in a leadership position in a project that is a DAO, and you have a large group of sort of like this community that is not involved in the day-to-day operations, but has very strong opinions because they're token holders and they want this and they want that and they don't know why you're doing this and that. And when that's happening and you're in a market downturn and everyone's pissed off and scared and wants to blame everyone for something, you can come under a lot of fire. It feels like war. Like literally, I feel like I've been through this kind of war situation. These guys have possibly fought in real wars, I believe. So me, just like DAO wars.
Can you show me your scars?
Yeah, I'll take off my shirt. But I think that like something that I learned from that is you have to learn to take public criticism and extract the information from it without taking it in emotionally. And that's very hard, especially when you feel passionate about your work and you like feel like you're kind of being attacked publicly, which I felt like I was for a little while. And yeah, that's kind of like probably my biggest moment building in the trenches, I would say.
Yeah, so building in trenches in Web3 is like basically launching a company public, right? You're building your tech, you're trying to get to product market fit, and at the same time, you're basically also building for your token holders who have like different ideas of what you should do, and all they care at the end of the day is, token go up, right? If the token go up, it's amazing. They don't care about anything, they'll make money. And so, often we have bear markets, okay? You can control your own company, you can control your own community, you can do a lot of stuff, but you cannot control if Bitcoin go up or down. And obviously, when everything goes down and there's, FTX and stuff like that, liquidity goes away and you basically go down as well. I'm very interested to hear from some of you, how do you manage your psychology during those times? How do you make sure that you don't break? How do you make sure that your team don't quit and go work for Web 2. How do you do that? It's for me at least, running a fund, it's crazy because we also live all of our portfolio ups and down, and we're very intense in this. So how do you do that?
So I think when you're in a leadership position in a company, there's natural psychological thing that happens, which is that the team looks to you emotionally and reflects how you're feeling, and they internalize what they can tell that you're feeling. So, and I don't think you can really fake that. I think that a lot of leaders try their best to put on a good face even when they're freaking out. But like the best way to be an emotional leader is to actually take care of yourself emotionally so that it's true. Like you're dealing with shit, and you know, for me, meditating, exercising, you know, taking time to like reflect, and you know, for me, like when something intense is going on, I like to just write about it, you know, journal about it. It helps me process what's going on, and after I do those things, I can face my team from a genuinely healthy place, and they will be encouraged to see that I'm not freaking out, I'm not distressed, I'm not falling apart, and it encourages them to kind of continue fighting and working on the mission.
I think as you get old enough, it's just you realize what you control and what you don't control, and completely ignore the stuff that you don't control. You control the inputs. You don't control the outputs. You do not control the price of Bitcoin, but you can control how well you perform, how well you build, etc. So I think that's one thing. The other thing is to understand what matters. And the reality is that what we do doesn't matter that much in, you know, the greater scheme of things and family, etc. That there's been a war here for, you know, the last year and a half, and you know, serious things happen. So the price is that or that today, tomorrow, etc. It doesn't matter that much if you have like a longer perspective of things. So I think you just need to, you know, sow the right seeds, and that is mostly what you control.
I have this thing that I'm doing on our Slack group, on our team Slack. GM, price is down, focus on building. GM, price is up, focus on building. And the idea is that teams needs to be centered around, okay, we are building here some valuable stuff. We are serving customers in productions. We are facilitating new innovations that are being built thanks to our efforts. So it's mostly about reminding them why we are doing it, why we are waking up every day to do what we love to do, to build stuff, to build innovation. And for us, it's all about building. So this is how basically I contribute to the focus.
Believe in what you're doing. This is what you're saying. By the way, I think that it's the same for Web 2 projects and Web 3 projects. It's
Really?
uncertainty today, being part of startups, building something new. It's not for everybody. For me, first of all, it's something that you should talk to your employees and tell them, listen, what you're doing is not for everybody. If you're not a person that likes uncertainty, and you're not gonna be thrilled from uncertainty and eventually achieve something that we believe in, then maybe you should go and work for a bank or for something else. And the second thing is that, you know, what really personally works for me is being hands-on. I believe that, you know, being hands-on, worker, being involved, really work together with your people to solve stuff. I'm a programmer also. I'm working also, you know, with the employees. I'm the hardest worker in the company. And for my studio, it really helps, you know, to be focused and achieve goals.
Lead by example.
Yeah, he's very hands-on, as you can see.
Yeah, no hands.
With the one hand, I'm hands-on
one hand
enough.
on.
So you were typing codes fiercely, right? You were vibe coding, and
The first thing that this hand started to do again is coding.
yeah. But you know, I have to disagree with you, Raz, on the fact that Web 2 and Web 3 is pretty much the same. You know, maybe it's the same, you know, from a conceptual idea, but at the end of the day, when you build in Web 2 and you have a product, you have product market fit, the revenue comes in, it's pretty easy to show the investor, yourself, and everything that you're doing well. You have a lot of, a lot of input. And in Web3, I've seen some company build like really good products and have amazing traction, but the price is down. And at the end of the day, you also have the treasury, right? At some point, you move from raising money from VC privately to raising money from the public, and it's pretty hard when the price is depressed. So this is just me, kind of disagreeing that Web 2 and Web 3 is the same. I think that in Web 3 there's a lot of uncertainty, and you cannot really control the fate of your token. I mean, you can inject more liquidity, you can do a lot of stuff, you can over communicate, you can be the best builder. But at the end of the day, in the short term, it might not go up. I believe that in the long term, with more consumption in Web3, we'll see more, revenue. We'll see better. I mean, we'll see better correlation between revenue, product market fit, community market fit, and price. This is just.
But I think in Web3, if you get product market fit, you do generate revenue. Like we've seen like a lot of cases around DeFi, etc., where product market fit does lead to substantial revenue. And I do mean real product market fit, not just people, farming the next airdrop or whatnot. That's the reality is that, in good month, there's 30, 60 million users in Web3 actually transacting, which is nothing. Right, and it's just that they generate a lot of revenue and fees, and that's great. But I think it's just the market is pretty small at this point. So even a decent product market fit is just not enough in revenue. But there is a correlation, I believe, between product market fit and revenue.
Okay. You mentioned earlier about the war, and let's touch on that because that's like a big elephant in the room, right? How October 7 affected you guys? I mean, I know the first month was horrible for a lot of our founders, but how did it affect, tell us a little bit, how did you manage the first months, the first 6 months? Do you still feel, I mean, Sharaf, you probably have been doing a lot of Miluim, a lot of reserve. So maybe you can take that?
The first, I would say, the first 3 months I was on reserves. So that was that. And then I spent probably another 100 days throughout the war. It was difficult. We needed to give people a lot of space. The market was immediately terrible, if you remember, especially towards Israeli-oriented projects. And it took me a good few weeks to care again about this because we just cared about different things. We were super busy, and I just knew that I had a good team. That my management team is with me for the last 7 years, so we're super oriented. And I know I have people I can trust, and they steer the ship. And it doesn't I can really. Move between things pretty fast and not think about this when I do that, etc. But this was different, and I knew I wasn't focused on Cody. I was just focused on the war for the first few weeks.
We had a few employees going for the army, but we found out that for the rest of the people stayed. We had a big role in kind of letting them do and focus on something to set their mind off the horrible stuff. I found myself few times talk and try to kind of lift up morality of my employees, although mine wasn't so high. It also helped me probably. But in a way, eventually we realized that what we're doing is kind of focusing in building Israel future. I think that in a way, every industry that we develop It can be games industry, crypto industry, startups. Everything is, for the sake of Israel economy and for the sake of the future. It doesn't really matter if it's for our personal wealth. It's also, in a way, for our country wealth, and we were focusing on that, and it really helped us, set our mind to the right focus.
Yeah, I think both of you actually. I will take it from like a different angle. Both my co-founder and I, we both serve in special forces. I got injured back in 2014 in Protective Edge. My co-founder, he did not got drafted because he wasn't like active Miluim service. We were early in our company life cycle. Basically, it was just the two of us with two part-time employees. And we planned to raise our our seed round mid-October. This was the initial plan. I got, a month or maybe 2 months away, of course, supporting my team and still giving our mentality and giving our resilience, I would say. We luckily have managed to raise our seed round back in January 24, which was kind of in the start of the war. And this was our, small little success, small little win that we felt like, this is the point that we felt like, okay, we're gonna build here a big company that's gonna have Israeli basically baseline or foundation. The core team is gonna be based in Israel. And myself, my mission is basically to contribute to the Israeli ecosystem in any way I can. If it's more like education, if it's teammates that's based here. So this is like our personal angle to the work.
Yeah, from my perspective as a fund, we've seen many companies, and I think for the first month we're fighting. I think we're horrified by what happened. A lot of people were completely horrified, off balance. First month was probably more about fighting to make sure that we can exist as a country. I don't know how you felt, but the first day was like, wait a second, something big is happening, way bigger than all the stuff we've known. And after a month, I think that one thing that we started communicating and we started seeing also other startups doing is that we're fighting this war, but we're as an industry we're fighting another war, and the war is making sure that Israel retain its spot as being one of the hub. Right, we're resilient. We have an economy. We need to make sure that we don't fail at this, and we need to both fight for the country, like literally fight, but also making sure that the startups are going to succeed, because at the end of the day, we have the sympathy of our friends, abroad, right? And you raise money because at the end of the day, people saw you as a startup and say, okay, this is a great startup and we'll invest. Obviously, people who are against Israel will not invest in you anyway. But at the end of the day, we don't want anyone's sympathy, right? After year to year, if we're not number one or number two in the world, people will not invest in us, but will not buy from us. And so one thing that I can say for sure is that we've seen many startup founders, kind of step up and say, okay, we're going to fight also and build like the best company. We're going to come back as stronger and more resilient. And we've seen many employees that kind of step up and say, okay, we'll have 2 or 3 people in reserve, 10, 20%. And we're going to make sure that we give that extra 20% because we're going to work as hard as possible because that doesn't matter. People will need to buy our product. Thank you, guys. I mean, we have about 4 minutes. Goldie, do you want to ask people? Oh, you were sleeping. Sorry. Did I wake you up? No. Okay. So maybe questions.
Let me take the mic away from you,
Okay.
Adam. Yes.
I'm done. Can I go?
Yeah. No. You're good. You're good. Okay. So the first question is, I hear from someone that randomly I chose. You work for an Israeli crypto company that I don't think Adam invested in you. But what do you want to ask these amazing founders?
Wow, I just joined. I have no specific question, but just kudos for all the work you're doing.
Okay, very helpful. Someone with a real question.
Come on, questions.
I can ask a question.
I can ask one too.
You know what? This is a game I do on panels. What do you want to ask Raz the most? And you can't ask him how many Bitcoin does he hold or what is net value.
I can tell you
Okay.
about Raz.
Yeah. But what do you want to ask Raz the most?
Well, I have a question for the panel overall.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we were talking about this earlier. I'm curious for each of you, like, when you are feeling personal uncertainty, what is your philosophy in terms of how much you are openly share that with your team, or feel that you need to kind of handle that yourself and show stability to your team?
Tough question.
Yeah, I like to showcase solutions and not necessarily problems, even though we as like Agenda, we are completely transparent and open to our team in any other aspect in the company. But when things are uncertain, I would say that, okay, I need to find the right solutions, and also to basically to share that was the problem and this is the solution and this is how we're going to fix it. So this is my approach.
I have a new trick in the last few years, because in my business you need to pivot a lot, you need to adapt, and I realized that if you don't hold enough thinking about the problem, if you run fast to a solution, sometimes it won't be the right fit. So I do share issues and problems, again, slowly, gradually, sometimes on very private talks, because sometimes if you do it in everybody get into a room and now we talk about the problem, then it starts to get really problematic. But eventually I teach the people to kind of stay with the problem, feel the inconveniency of having a problem, and eventually we find a solution everybody loves.
So one thing I want to say is that I've been a VC in Web2 and now Web3, and I've been a founder before that, and I sucked at communicating with my investor. I sucked at communicating with my founder. I sucked at communicating with many people. And I think in Web2, people, founders, there are some founders who are very good at communicating with everyone, with all the stakeholders. I think in Web3, we don't have that much. The communication is really bad. I don't get updates from some of the company, wink, wink, every quarter.
You do get.
No, it's okay. That's why I need to visit more often. But the thing is, there's marketing-wise, I think, especially for us, there's a place where if we over-communicate, we're brutally honest, and we do more. I think we can even use that as a marketing edge, as something that is you want to be memorable, you want to be different. Don't do things that are better, just do things that are completely different. Carve out your own league and be there. And I think if we can become a bit more transparent, because this is what we do, Israel, we just tell people in their face, oh, you suck. I asked someone, how's the conference? They told me, your conference suck. No, not really. But the thing is, many people gave me like honest feedback. In the state, I would be, oh, your conference is so amazing. I really had fun. But here, people say, I think the venue is too big. I think you should, take more people outside because they're talking in the back. Or
I think you should stop holding the mic and ask the question. No, I'm just saying.
But anyway, being brutally honest, even to your stakeholder and to your token holder, is something that I think we should do more and could be even more effective. One time?
We are exactly
more questions?
On time. Is there another question? All right, I'm coming to you.
Okay, now we're not going to be on time.
I had a few questions, and so they're tied. So it's a direct question for Yarden. I got introduced to Yarden as the co-founder of Authentic, and I see you're here, co-founder of Fortify. So how do you manage two companies? And then I'd love to hear from the rest of the panel, for builders that are aspiring to build, how do you guys determine which projects to actually double down on and go all in on?
I always like to work simultaneously on two companies.
He's actually the best founder of Fortify, not of Authentic. The second question was, how do you decide what are you doubling down on?
Doubling down on what, sorry?
Within the company, what projects, what initiatives, what features?
Actually, it's a good question. We have, I see, 50 seconds, so I don't think we're gonna manage to do so. I would say, okay, like a very quick feasible example. So we wanted to launch 2 new services as part of our wider infrastructure. So there is this thing called the MOM test. Basically, it's a market validation process that you are going through. So if anyone wants to read this, this is a very good feasible example.
The what test?
The MOM test.
The MOM test.
The MOM test.
To be honest, I think that if you are, working on a few projects to kind of like see what catches on, etc., it sounds very good on a podcast. But the reality is that you're an amateur. You're an amateur. You're doing an amateur thing. It's hard enough to do one thing right that if you're going to do a lot of things, you're never going to get it right. So. And it's not really a question of doubling down because, again, it's not a casino. There is data. And then there's, lastly, and I'll end with that, if you don't love what you do, it's going to be very hard to do it well. So I think it's more of a passion thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Love what you do.
Thank you. I want to share with you one of my first experiences with Shachaf as they go downstage. We were at a conference, and one of Shachaf's employees was actually moving from his company to my company, and he told me the unforgettable sentence, Goldie, the fact they're moving from my company to yours makes both companies better. Thank you, Shachaf, for that sentence. All right. We're now going to have a super interesting panel that actually looks at different cycles.